We are here for reaching new audiences and driving new sales for your business. We did a survey just a couple weeks ago, and almost 70% of the distributors surveyed rank themselves as low on the ability to generate new business. That same 70% rank themselves really high in keeping current customers. So today, I know you're here because you're trying to focus 100% on generating new business. So folks, we have the chat down below, the Q&A feature, both are enabled. So ask questions. We've got people ready to respond to you. We are recording this session, and as always, we'll send it out to you this afternoon, along with the much promised outreach kit. And we'll talk about that more in a little bit. Today we'll have polls and pro tips today. It'll work really well to hold it seems to work really well just to hold the panelists an extra 15 minutes. So we'll answer more questions live at the end. My name is Stephanie Drago, and I've been here in this industry for almost 10 years and working e-commerce and marketing and all things digital for over 20 years. I've lived and breathed prospecting my whole career, so I'm really glad to be here today. And while you guys are filling in the poll, let's get to know our other speakers. So Zach Hessler, you have been with the company for a few years now. I'm really excited to have you here because you had to introduce a new major line to Navitor and had to be very creative in your prospecting techniques. So we're gonna hear some more about that. Welcome, Zach.
Yeah, thank you. So, being the packaging expert, and thank you guys for being here. I'm hoping to unbox some ideas for you on how to prospect some new business and get rolling with bringing in some new customers and even maintaining your current customers. That's very important as well. So thank you for having me, and let's do this.
Thanks, Zach. And Sadie Whiting, 18 years with the organization. And normally I would talk about your label expertise, but today we're going to focus on a stickier subject like digital marketing and the success that you've really seen there. So welcome, Sadie.
Thanks, Stephanie. Hi, everyone. Good to be here. This is a topic that I guess you could say passionate about. I enjoy it. I'm in it every day using it, and it's stuck with me. So I hope it sticks with you today. I'm excited to be here.
Excellent. Thanks, Sadie. And Alex Ludke, you have been leading the company charge in emerging industries. So all things new, especially cannabis and CBD. So I know I've loved hearing some of these ways that you've been approaching prospecting over the last few years. So welcome, Alex.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to talk about different topics today with everyone and give the inside scoop of Generation Z.
We're representing a few different generations here. So thank you, Alex. Great to have you. All right, folks. So you guys had the poll going. I am going to share the results here so that you can kind of see who is here today. So it looks like actually we have a lot of Generation X. It looks like they're coming in at the forefront and the baby boomers. And then when you're talking about who do you want to serve, it looks like it is, again, the younger generation. So we'll dig more into this. This is very similar to what we saw on our survey, which will also share some of those results as well. So really cool to see some of this. A lot of challenges, I know, in reaching these new audiences and younger audiences. So I'm glad to see this. This is really helpful. A couple of the things, that I heard in our interviews and I just wanted to touch on is that if you're coming to this presentation, you're like, there's no difference in the generations. And, sometimes it kind of irks people to feel like they're being pegged into a generation. There's some negativity around it sometimes. So the point of our workshop today is not just to focus on generations, but to use this as a mechanism for accessing new business overall. Generations are one aspect of that, and this is one that your fellow resellers have called out as a great opportunity. So let's get started here. What is growth? We conducted distributor surveys with hundreds of people and then interviews as well. So the questions weren't about customer satisfaction or demographics. They were about really hard-hitting subjects like what works for you to grow the business. And some answered that they completely turned their business upside down and sold PPE. So I'm sure some of you are in that bucket. Some answered that they they closed down their retail space, moved inventory home. Some hit it big with a new account in growing industries like real estate or healthcare. But then we also heard a lot of the really hard stories, like how do I sell if I can't go visit the actual customer? I want to serve the younger generations, but I have no idea how to reach them. I want to be out there on social, but I can't tie it directly to sales. So is this just a big waste of my time? There's fears about cold calling and just overall the difficulty it is to run a business, support your family, serve your customers, and prospecting just doesn't make the cut on most of those days. So I know you know how to run your business, And prospecting is all about making the time. And that's what we're going to be really talking about here today, is making the time for you. And then personally, I really hate going to webinars that just tell me kind of these theoretical, send good emails or post on social, but there's nothing concrete. So because I am sending emails, right? I think that they're good. I think they're impactful. I'm posting on social. I think I'm doing a good job, but I'm not bringing in new business. So I know that that's been a common critique of each other when you're thinking of what to do with your business. So today we are going to also share the outreach kit. So we'll post that link in the chat there and you guys can go out to it right now. This is a concrete tool. Okay, so there are subject lines, there's prospecting emails that you can actually take those and send. You can actually, click on the actual posts, social posts that you can use and make your own. So everything in there is a bunch of research and data and really helpful, again, concrete action items that you can use. It's called the Outreach Kit, your exclusive prospecting guide for distributors. So today, we're going to kind of marry alongside with this outreach kit. We'll focus on 3 main channels, so print, digital, and then a combination or phygital. We will take you into how to sell to the younger generations, but then also new industries, depending on your goals. So now is your chance to focus on you. So turn off your cell phones, shut down your email and any distractions, and invest in you. Zach, let's roll with you. We'll start with the first major priority of print, using it in new and updated ways. So Zach, I'll pass it to you.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you, Stephanie. So we're going to get into how print is still a very powerful tool in this digital age of time that we're in. But I first want to go over some of the results that we got from our distributor member survey, so we can go ahead and move forward here. So when we were asking distributor members what customers they tend to serve more of, 90% of them said baby boomers, kind of along the lines of what you guys have in the chat here. On the flip side, when we asked you which generations do you want to serve the most, the majority said Gen X, Millennials, Generation Z, so that younger generation that we can see. Another interesting stat is that 43% of the US population is made up of Millennials and Gen Z. So we can kind of understand that moving forward into the future, we're going to see some of these younger generations taking over this type of industry. So how do we reach them? What are the important aspects of prospecting them? Moving forward here, we'll go to, where do I start? What do distributors need to grow? Exciting new products were up there, social media and blog content and e-commerce. Some of the biggest hurdles were acquiring new customers and online retailers. But what's also interesting is that our research isn't just stop at what we did for a member survey. We also surveyed hundreds of CEO and business owners to get a better sense of their business priorities for the next 6 to 12 months. So as you can see there, communications with customer is huge. Acquiring new customers and employee safety. Obviously, with the last year we had, you can understand why that's a top priority for companies out there. Mentioning where they want to help, where they want help, customer research, safety and awareness for operations, and cost savings with supply chains. So one thing I want to add is that in the outreach kit in pages 2 to 4, you'll kind of see some of these examples of how to prospect out to these customers. Say something along the lines of, are you looking to improve your customer communications? As opposed to more of, are you looking to increase your advertising to customers? It shows you that you care about what they say to their customers with what's going on the last year, and how to move forward into achieving that success with the customers. So when we move forward here as to how we transition into different types of print and physical approaches you guys can use, I just want to point one thing out. I know millennials are a huge part of the prospecting group of what distributors are looking to get into. And so some of the other research we did was that we found that majority of millennials see print as the biggest opportunity of showing people you can still send and receive physical products even though we are in a digital world. I like to talk about tangibility with all this. A current and potential customer receiving something that's tangible from your company helps develop that physical bond between you and them. It's something that really no digital marketing strategy can really accomplish. Tangible objects offer something physical for your future and buyers to hang on to, literally. So I use the example of my personal email, my Yahoo email that has thousands of built up emails from whether it's a credit card union trying to get me to fill out a credit card form, or it's Old Navy telling me to spend $50 more to get 10% off. All these things kind of build up and I never really get to focus on one or the other. But when I receive something more tangible and something physical like direct mail, printed ads and that kind of stuff, that resonates with me a little more. It might sit on my counter for 2, 3, 4 days, and I might not really utilize it as much, but I'm looking at it. An interesting fact is that consumers who received direct mail offers were able to recall the brand 75% of the time. And then for consumers who received digital only, the brand was only remembered 44% of the time. So you can understand the importance of the physical aspect of receiving print. So talking about direct mail, it still remains an effective and more focused method of marketing. It can be customized to appeal to very specific audiences, and they can also have a personal touch that some business messages just really can't. Most people do take the time to do their sort through their physical mail, making direct mail much more likely to be seen, even if it does end up in the trash a couple of days later. It builds a physical bond. I relate back to that stat where customers who receive the direct mail offers were able to recall the brand 75% of the time. That's a big number, actually. Moving forward to printed ads, I just wanted to talk about community newsletters as an example that you guys can use. Distributors like you guys can sponsor them and use a page to advertise your company, and that can be a different way to prospect to different types of customers out there that might not be able to reach on a digital platform. The final thing I want to talk for the top 3 would be sample packs. We did a case study where 200 sample packs were sent out to the top 200 customers, and the sample packs fit into an 8.5 by 11 envelope with business identity materials. They brought in over $90,000 in revenue based on a coupon code. And what they're doing is they're going on to send out 200 more top customers. So one thing about sample packs is that they're extremely effective in creating customer demand for a product. They may have a power to turn an uncertainty of a sale into an actual sale in an instant. Whether you want to test out, reactions to a new product, or you want to win over new customers with an older product, free sample packs can be very incredibly persuasive with what you're trying to promote with your brand. Moving forward here, a couple different types of direct marketing that I want to show is that, I'm sure you guys have customers who are printing brochures, ads, sales sheets, etc. And art may look like a piece in A. That's completely fine depending on where you're trying to go with your audience, who you're trying to reach out to. But there's a lot going on. There's a lot of popping out at you. There's a lot of words. So when we look at something like B, this is more highly stylized and a better design to use for something that's more of approaching a new audience or a new vertical or a different generation. It's more modernized. It's an eye-catching appeal that someone like me, a millennial, and Alex, a Gen Z, we look at these things and we see, wow, this is pretty cool. To add that cool effect to this type of direct mail can be very beneficial for your prospecting. So a pro tip I wanted to add was, I know a lot of you guys don't have graphic designers, but you can go to Fiverr.com and hire someone for $5 to create content and artwork. And then you can also go to graphicriver.com and download templates for $10 to $15. These are nice, affordable ways to get that prospecting underway with a direct mail piece. Moving forward here in my final slide, I just want to share a couple things. There's a couple stats I want you guys to look at. I'm just going to point out 2 of them. Millennials are a huge part of the whole generational prospecting that you guys are trying to reach out to from a distributor standpoint. And so 2 interesting facts for that: 38% of millennials prefer direct mail pieces, over 26% that prefer email. 40% of millennials read direct mail compared to 18% of baby boomers. So that's a pretty interesting fact to keep with you as you move forward into your prospecting for these type of audiences. So to wrap up, I just want to say, focus on quality and not quantity when you're dealing with print and physical advertising. While digital advertising might win in quantity, physical marketing wins in quality. Using physical marketing materials is incredibly useful for brands and businesses. And don't think that because we live in a digital age now, that print needs to be obsolete. I use the example of don't put all your eggs in one basket. Utilize the digital platform, utilize the physical platform, reach the different variances of audiences that will be successful for you and your company moving forward. So we're going to dive into what Sadie has to say about digital and how it can drive results. I appreciate you guys listening to me, and we'll move forward.
Thanks, Zach. And like you said, it's all about looking at all these different options. So another basket, if we're going to talk baskets here, is digital selling. So let's dive right in. We're going to look at who you can target with this marketing piece. So who you can target. First of all, one thing you want to do is look at who you're already working with. And as we're going through, we're going to give you some ideas, but really just look at, okay, who are my customers today? What are they buying from me today? And then ask yourself, how can I upsell or cross sell? So look at what are the items they're buying? How can I sell more of that? And then outside of those items, how can we cross sell to them? And then also use your network to find connections outside of the industries that you're already working with. So for example, things that are going to work well here would be word of mouth, of course, referrals, this is a big one, watching social media for opportunities. So as you get more involved, we're going to give some ideas shortly here, but as you get more involved with these social media platforms, like we're talking at the beginning of the session here, there's all kinds of opportunities, people looking for things, companies that pop up on there. So there's tons of connections to have. And then the last tip I would give you on this aspect is stay up to date in the news, because you never know, if you're watching that, you might actually see where an industry is being impacted, whether that's new regulations put in place or new things coming on board with a particular market. And then you can stay up to date on that and reach out to those markets as a solution for them. So that's just a great way to kind of capture some of that low-hanging fruit. And thirdly, as we've been sharing throughout the session already today, check out this outreach kit. You're going to want to dive into this afterwards and really dig deep into it, because it's full of great tips. And in there, you can find on page 5, we're going to be seeing the key industries and prime candidates that you're going to want to reach out to. So let's look on the next slide here for websites. How can what should we be doing with our website to use this as a selling tool? So 50% of those that we surveyed said that they want to upgrade their site. Many of them said, my site's 10 to 20 years old already, which doesn't sound that old, but in technology world, it's old. I always say this little joke that, you buy a laptop, you walk out of the door and it's already outdated before you get to the car. So websites, 10 to 20 years doesn't sound long, but it could be an older website. One distributor that we talked to actually mentioned that 75% of his business comes from his online platform. So that just shows you how much potential and importance there is in that method. So let's look at these two sites. So we've got A and we've got B. You can obviously see the big differences here. And as you're looking at this, kind of evaluate your own site and say, which one does it more closely resemble? So as we saw in the poll that we took a little while ago, millennials and Gen Z clients are, kind of some of those target future customers that we're hoping to get after. And option B is going to be the one that's going to be more apt to catch their eye. Not only is it modern, it's clean, it's to the point. It's, the attention span. We always know all the customers nowadays, everything's moving so quickly. We were talking about TikTok earlier, and that kind of shows you 30 seconds or less, or whatever the quick little attention span. If you're looking at these sites, B is going to be the one that gets the message out there the quickest. One thing I will share, a pro tip here, if you do not have experience building a website or someone in your company that can, look at these different tips, Wix.com, Squarespace.com, as well as Navitor offering. If you do have e-commerce or your own shopping cart already on your site, Navitor can help you with that. So moving on, let's go dig into one of my favorites, which is LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is another tool that you can use. It's a digital selling platform, and it's really all about networking and connections. LinkedIn has 722 million members coming out of 55 million companies. And just last year, they had a 55% increase in the activity between all those connections. So if you're not already on LinkedIn, I'd encourage you to get to LinkedIn and start a profile today. And if you are, here's going to be some ways to optimize that interaction that you have out there. So looking at these two, we've got A and we've got B, thinking about first impressions. We want your profile and your page to resemble option B here, because it's going to be the more current, eye-catching, and vibrant. Something you want to make sure is that your profile picture is up to date, that your cover photo in the back there is going to be showing kind of who you are and what your brand is about, what you offer. Let's check out the pro tips here. And these are going to show you, if you are looking for images to use out here on the LinkedIn platform, here's some great resources there. And they're going to be all free that you can take great images from. So you don't even have to have a graphic designer on hand to create this, to really put your LinkedIn to the next step. So let's dive into the actual profile once you get this set up. So one thing you want to do is make sure you have an engaging profile, an engaging page, because if someone's calling on you, you might go out and actually check out their LinkedIn. So people are going to do the same to you. If you're calling on them or emailing them, they might check you out. If you Google people's names, a lot of times LinkedIn is one of the first things that pops up. So having a really great page that tells about the value that you bring, what you do, is going to help in that area. So for example, on mine is something that's worked really well for me. I've been using LinkedIn for several years now, and I've actually gotten to about 1,100 and growing connections. Had a few more even today. So it's exciting to see that. But here's some tips and things that have worked for me. So the things you want to look at is explaining on your page to the people that are looking at it, what I do, who I work with, why it works, what makes me different, and how it works. Feel free to check out my profile as an example of this, kind of just follow it as a template if you'd like even, but this just shows you, hey, what I do, it's not just about, I'm not writing this in the context of just about me. I'm wanting it to really display the value that the person reading it is going to find that I bring to them. So instead of saying I'm just a senior account executive, instead I put in my title, label expert helping resellers build sales. So even if they don't dig into my profile, if they just look at my name and my caption there, you can see, oh, she helps resellers. I'm a reseller. I want that. Or for you, an end customer would catch their eye if you had that worded correctly there. So let's look at actually posting tips. What do we suggest when you're actually active now on these platforms? So let's look first at Facebook. With Facebook, you're going to want to be really active with links and images. Those are things that really catch a lot of attention, as well as watch your character count. Keep it to 40 characters or under. Also, something interesting is there's actually time periods that Facebook gets the most attention, and that's 1 to 4 p.m. is going to be your best time to post for those business clients. And lastly, for Facebook, be consistent. Make it something that you're regularly out there doing, whether you have to put a pop-up reminder on your email or whatever the case is. Make sure you're posting at least 3 times a week at a minimum. And if you're like me, you'll find it's really fun and you'll do it even more than that. So LinkedIn, let's look at that one. So LinkedIn, something there I would suggest is sharing photos and real life illustrations. Be really authentic. LinkedIn has a tendency to sometimes be so saturated with advertising. So it's really nice and refreshing when people actually share about themselves and how I can help you, different product highlights, things like that. Share third-party content and make sure you add a little commentary to the post. So it's not just you sharing it, but you adding your personal touch as well. For posting there, you want to go Tuesday to Thursday for the best audience traffic. And then lastly, videos are a really great tool out on LinkedIn. 20 times more likely to be shared than an image. So just keep that in mind. And it doesn't have to be really intricate, just a simple video of you sharing something that you would like your customers to know about. Other tips here before we move on would be connecting with the leads that you call on or email via these platforms is another great tool. You make a call, you connect with someone, and then go out into LinkedIn and connect with them there. And it's great. You can send a message along with your connection request. Hey, it was great to chat with you today. Looking forward to working with you, that kind of thing. Following your clients' pages, that's going to keep you up to date with what they have going on, what kind of solutions you can offer and make it applicable to what they're doing. And then also something else, follow the Navitor, LabelWorks, all of these company pages for sales resources and tips that you can turn around and use on your own platforms. Also, lastly, before we transition to the next piece of this, building connections on these platforms, you will not believe how far those networks reach. Don't get discouraged if you're starting out and you have just a small family of connections there, because that grows quickly as long as you're consistent out there. And also, here's an example. From a month ago, I posted just a post about a work anniversary. Like I mentioned, I have 1,100 connections, but it did not just reach those 1,100. Today, I actually have seen that has reached 6,300 people, because every time someone likes it or comments on it, it reaches their network. So just really encourage you. There's so much great things. Check out the outreach kit for more on this. But in addition, put these two together and you run into digital and physical makes digital. And I'm going to hand this over to Alex to take it from here.
Zach and Sadie, thank you for talking about the difference in physical and digital side. Now let's talk about the best of both worlds. Now, what is Phygital? Phygital blends physical strategies with digital applications to create a seamless customer experience using the best of both worlds. And if you're a visual learner like I am, here are a few icons to help describe what Phygital is, but we are going to mainly focus on the top row samples: social, website, and email. So change can be scary with your outreach and prospecting, but it can be a big reward. For example, calls. Did you know 69% of buyers accepted phone calls from the new providers in the last 12 months? I know I didn't know that. Once you get someone on the phone, you have about 5 to 10 minutes to prove your value to your prospects. Don't let your prospect hang up or end the call and be like, what value are they even going to be bringing to me? Let them know what value you are offering. Now, phone calls are not the only tactics. There are also emails. And so about emails, subject line is so important and will make the difference if people want to open and learn more about your specific email. For example, people will look at their email sometimes on their phone first, because at least I get my emails before my computer does sometimes. So the first 10 words are important and the subject line is super important. So we have a couple suggestions for you, such as let's get real, it's happening, fix your pain point in X amount of days. And this can also be found in our outreach kit that we just made. So adding a number can help your customers open something as they know exactly what they're going to receive value for. And then finally, samples are another prospecting tactic. So 92% of buyers, their choices are influenced by providers that educate with new ideas and perspectives. So for example, when we were at our last virtual trade show, the first thing that I ever got asked from everyone that entered our booth was, okay, what's new? What can we offer to our customers? I'm like, this is what's new. This is what we can offer. That is what people want to understand. So now let's kick it off about defining our prospecting list. And first, I'm going to kick it over to Stephanie to talk about the survey results.
Sounds good. All right, everybody, it looks like they filled these in. So I'm going to share and just show kind of what folks are looking to do. So it looks like 81% are going to read the outreach kit. So that's a good start. That's a really good start. This is all the outreach kit was dedicated to distributors based on your experiences, our experiences, the surveys, an end buyer survey that we also did. So that you can hear directly from your end customers, you know, what they're looking to do and what their priorities are. So I think that is a really important one. I'm glad to see this start blocking 2 hours a day. We'll talk about that more in a minute. And then it looks like LinkedIn is the next kind of one of the top ones there that over 50% of you are saying that that's you're really looking to do. And I think that's a really great start. Everyone's going to research you starting there. So you got to have a good LinkedIn page. So that's great. Alex, back to you.
Perfect, thank you. So first, what you want to do is define your customer profile. So gather your top 5, what industry are they in, get the titles of your prospects or clients already. And then what you can do is Google other companies from those industries in your area. And with LinkedIn, you can actually search those companies and find people with similar job titles. And then you can add them to your prospecting list and include name, email, title, phone, all of the jazz. So there is a tool called Sales Navigator, which is a paid tool that is a part of LinkedIn in a little bit more of a robust way, but you can pin people and track their activities and movement in the company. And you also can pin companies and track the activity that they're doing. If you want to celebrate something for them, you can be able to do that with Sales Navigator. Otherwise, with just a normal LinkedIn profile, there is a free way where you can search a company and then you look at the people that work there, and there will be on the top, it will say like, where did they go to school, or like you're connected to them this way. And I have found a ton of prospects that way and just started that first conversation of like, hey, we both went to MSU. And as Sadie showed, there's a lot of space to make people understand what you do on your LinkedIn profile. So don't just add your name and what you do as an account executive. What do you do? What value do you offer? And finally, we created 7 days to successful prospecting. So this is where you want to block off your calendar into 2-hour chunks a day. Sounds like a lot, but you will get a lot out of it. So by day 7, you will be calling people. This is not about perfection. It is about progress. We want you to prioritize your time. This is an investment in you. For example, day 5, create 3 social posts for the week. Social media is all about consistency. This will help your brand recognition. And then leads to sales in the end. It's not a sale right away, but it will help with brand recognition. And at the end of the day, stay positive, because even if you don't land a meeting day one, you worked your butt off for 2 hours. So be proud. And back to Stephanie.
Okay, that's great. I think, those 7 days to successful prospecting is just a guideline and kind of a stake in the ground to say, if you're not able to prioritize it today, because there's constantly fires, there's constantly orders to worry about, customers calling in, it's really hard. So the goal is really to set your 7 days, block off those 2 hours. And that's really important so that no one else is kind of interrupting you there. And then start doing that. And you can rearrange those days however it makes you feel more comfortable, but short-term and long-term planning and being very action oriented. What am I going to get out today? We kind of see it as more progress, not perfection, when we're talking about kind of really, really making an effort here. Obviously, you can do more than 2 hours, but we all know that you're trying to run the business too, and this is still hard times. So, all right, so let's start. Let's move on to the Q&A section. We promised you 15 minutes for that. So I think we have gotten a ton of questions and we're trying to keep up with you here. So the first one that I wanted to just bring out is using landing pages or home pages to drive traffic and linking to those. So let's start with that one. I think that's kind of a fun one and kind of one to consider. So does one of the speakers want to cover it? Otherwise I can cover that one too.
Go ahead, Steph.
So the marketer covered it? Okay. All right. So using a landing page or your home page. So a landing page, just to make sure everyone's on the same page, sorry, but is basically kind of where you want to send a segment of your audience. So if you're serving schools, there were a couple of distributors talking about schools. You might have a school prospecting landing page where it's going to talk about, your value statements, it's going to talk about the products you offer and how you serve schools specifically. You might have a very similar page and you're serving the finance industry. So that's your finance prospecting page. And so they might look similar, but you're going to have different imagery. It's going to be personalized and customized to that industry. You can create landing pages for specific companies if you want. So think of landing pages as your segmented version of what you want to do for prospecting or targeting in some way. Homepage is different. This is where you're talking about your overall value proposition. You're talking about your overall company, industries you might serve, because anybody can go there, and it's a much broader audience. So just think about the two in those different ways. Both are really important. You can get free analytics to understand kind of where people are clicking on your page. Do they need to log in? Do they not? Like, where are they going? So that you can really understand what they're doing on that page and optimize from there. Okay, let's go to another one. There was a specific question about using images in email and getting, can you use an email, sorry, not just an image, but an image for your YouTube link. And can you do that one? I think, do you guys want us to take that one? We can do that one too, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah.
I can talk a little bit about it too.
Okay, go for it, Alex, go for it. Mm-hmm.
So when we were using videos, whether it was a thumbnail of a YouTube or Vidyard is an example of like embedding a video in an email, would sometimes not work the best for that first email. Just because it could possibly mark it out as spam with it just being a video and a link. But once you have that connection, and say your second touch point is a phone call, say, hey, once we hang up, I am going to send you this video, and that won't get marked as spam. So I just recommend it not being the first email. Don't have it as your first touch point.
Okay. Okay, good tip. Okay, samples. We're getting a few questions about samples and a few comments too about what folks are doing out there. So from trifolds, banners, business cards, maybe the speakers, you guys want to touch on what you typically like to put in a sample kit. Zach, you want to start?
Yeah, so with different samples, I like to show different types of, so for example, I know finishes are a pretty big hit for customers out there. So whether you're doing like a glossy finish, or you're doing something that's more of a matte finish, or you want a soft touch feel, show a variety of what you have and what you can offer. Different sizes, if you have I know the standard size for a business card is pretty typical, but just show a variety of what you have, and package it in a way that gives a good presentation. Use a folder, use a custom box for your samples to arrive in, and just show that presentation and really drive home, what can we offer you from a finishing standpoint and from a product standpoint to show your customer, because samples are so vital in the whole entire prospecting unit. It's so much easier to show someone this is what we can do rather than show someone on a screen, this is what we can do for you. People like to touch and feel things and get an actual, physical feel for what they'll be producing. So that's what I have to say about samples and how it can be vital to setting out kits and stuff like that.
Sadie, do you want to add anything on some of your sample kits?
Sure. Yeah. One of the things that I like to suggest people do is always kind of, actually, Zach touched on it earlier when he said that it was about quality over quantity sometimes. So sometimes it's not about the masses that you reach with these sample kits, but more like if you look at, okay, this week I'm going to target financial institutes, or this week I'm going to target realtors or schools.
Yeah.
And then just get samples that are going to be applicable to those markets. So what's neat about that is, and if I'm someone that works, if I'm a bank representative and I open up your sample kit and everything in there is related to finance, that's pretty impressive, because not everybody does that. Sometimes it's just throw it out there and hope that it lands, but if you're targeting a certain industry with those sample kits, you're going to get further along, even if you just send, because there's obviously sometimes a lot of cost involved there, but you can just send a smaller audience, but more targeted that way. And then that's going to be something that too, I think will get more traction as you've spent the time to do that. Something I've also told people is you can also check your Chamber of Commerce website for your area if you do a lot of local selling, to find out all these businesses, even up and coming new small businesses you may not even know are in your area. And that Chamber of Commerce website, if they're part of that, will have their name on there. And that just might be a way to offer your solutions to them too. So.
Great answer. Alex, any tips on sample kits that you've used or seen?
Yeah, I like to send it in a folder and just show a variety too of what we can do. So we have it in a folder based off of their industry, where then I can put my business card in there, but don't overwhelm them with the number of samples that you're sending, because I've gotten that personally and I'm like, holy cow, I'm so overwhelmed with everything. If know what industry they're in, that's great. And then I like to put a personalized letter in there as well and just be like, look forward to chatting about these sample kits. So,
Yep. There's a few questions then around samples and how do we get some samples. So Navitor does provide sample kits. We call them the vertical market kits. And so you can find this on navitor.com, just going to tools and resources. And the first one is free. And then from there, they're $5, but I wish I had one here to show you, but they're, roughly this size, and they're full of products, and they're all in a specific industry. There's an outer package that you can just take and discard, and everything else is unbranded, so you can use it. Oh, thank you, Alex. Yeah, so the envelope that it's in is branded as Navitor. The rest is not, so you can take that envelope out, or you can take that envelope out and toss it and just use the rest of the materials in there that Alex is showing you. So there's property management, there's healthcare, there's education, there's finance. I think we have like roughly 10 different industries. And we come out with new ones and we keep these updated. So there's always fresh and new samples in there that you can use directly as your own. Add in, a card that gives your name, and add in the letter, like Alex is saying, it's personalized. Another distributor here is just talking about a brandable box. We do that too. So you can have a cute little box kit that it goes out in that is branded to you in short runs. So you don't need to buy thousands of them. You can buy, a couple hundred if you want. So I think that's really cool. And samples overall, Zach touched on too, that case study with, they were sending it to their top customers. In this case, it was top 200 customers, but you can start with top 5, start with top 10. It doesn't have to be a huge investment. Just start and kind of see how it works, see how it feels to you. There is another question about prospecting email templates, and are we providing any like that? So we are. Zach, you want to cover that?
Yeah. So in our outreach kit, some what was it? What page was that?
Yeah, can we get that page?
Either way, yeah, we put some in our outreach kit that you can look at, and I think just using those templates to kind of create your own message for what you're trying to achieve for your customer and who you're reaching out to is pretty vital. But utilizing that and putting it, twisting it into your own words, obviously, give yourself a little template, but also, drive home what you really want the customer to understand. I think that's a key part. I know that these outreach kits that we created by our team that did an incredible job, can really be a vital resource to you guys and helping you guys reach out to new audiences, and whether it's an email or social media or something like that. So I'd say utilize what we have to offer.
And there's an interesting question here about QR codes. Now, we didn't talk about this one in advance, so I'm not sure where everyone stands, and we might be a little bit divided. I know the world is sort of generally divided on QR codes. So let's hear pro. If you're pro QR code, raise your hand. Okay, well, I'm going to raise it partially. Oh, we're actually all pro. Okay. Alex, why don't you hit it first then?
Well, I just think of one, because of COVID and everything, that's if you're targeting restaurants or your client is in the restaurant hospitality area, they're using QR codes for the menu. And so it doesn't really mean that you're not getting the treatment of getting served. It's just that way no one's touching the same menu. So I like that. That's kind of cool. But I like QR codes because it's so easy to just scan them and then it brings you straight to the website. So that's why I'm pro QR code. And yeah, I like them.
I think the other thing that's interesting about QR codes is now the smartphones have it built into your camera. So you used to download a program, and the person who wanted to use a QR code, there was just so much kind of hassle around them, and they seemed really old school very quickly because it was just a big hassle. I definitely think QR codes are here to stay. I think we're going to be seeing more and more of that, especially as it's so easy to do now and gets you to, we were talking about landing pages and home pages. So it's a way to get you to more information easily. If you're looking to how to generate a QR code, literally, I would just Google it. There's free tools out there that you can generate a QR code. If you're here as a graphic designer or you have one on staff, they can do it in the different design tools. It's free. It's very easy to generate those QR codes. Okay, all right. What other questions did I miss? We're getting a few questions about if there's going to be a replay of the webinar, so I'll just say that again. We definitely are going to, we are recording this, and we will share that out this afternoon, along with links again to that outreach kit. You'll have exclusive access to this for the next week before we start sharing it out to a broader audience of distributors. All right. Are there any other questions that we want to hit on? The last one maybe that I have is using TikTok or YouTube for finding suppliers. And that was the specific question. And I'm thinking maybe we can broaden that for finding suppliers or finding prospects. Can we touch on some of that, like using some of these specific platforms? Maybe Sadie, I'll start with you, because you use, whether you use TikTok or YouTube for prospecting, but you're really assertive in your use of different social platforms. You want to touch on it first?
Sure. So I'd say, oftentimes with YouTube, and I'll let Alex and Zach talk to the TikTok piece, since I'm not an expert in TikTok. But on the YouTube piece of it, oftentimes we've talked about how much is out there, and it's you don't want to be on like a needle in a haystack kind of approach, because there's so much out there. But I think if you're out there and you're searching, you can do all kinds of things. Even if you type in print, you're going to have a ton of stuff, and you're going to see, obviously, your most popular stuff is going to come up at the top. But then also, if you go to, for example, Navitor has a YouTube channel. If you go there, it's also going to link you to, obviously, YouTube is going to start suggesting all kinds of other things. So you're going to see Navitor, you're going to start seeing all these other resources that kind of similar go along with that industry. So I think if you just start searching out there, how we always talk about, you get in the trap where you spend so much time on there, you don't realize how long you've been on there because of that reason. It's going to really start feeding you. So I'd say start at the Navitor channel and check it out there. And then you're going to start seeing, as you're going through, you're going to start seeing a lot of different suppliers there, but that's just going to be a great piece alone as well as just using that search function for as far as prospecting goes. And I'll let Alex and Zach touch on the TikTok piece of it.
Yeah, so I like TikTok because it's a storyteller in a visual form instead of via a phone. You can see, oh, this is what this box is and how it's personalized to me. It has all these it has embossing, debossing, Scodex, foil, anything they want on there. And so a lot of people will do either like product reviews on TikTok. And one thing about TikTok is it's short. So 7 to 15 seconds is kind of the prime time currently for the algorithm. And that's the other thing, is that there is an algorithm with TikTok. So the more you like certain videos about what industry you're in, your For You page is just going to keep showing up the same stuff that you want to see. And so you can get other ideas from people too. You can see how they're doing as well. Zach, I don't know if you want to add anything.
The only thing I would add on that is just using hashtags to search as well. If you're looking for a certain type of industry or something along those lines, like hashtag, is there hashtag promotional items, different things like that. It'll start filtering in your search column to see different types of videos. And like Alex said, they're pretty short videos and don't take up much time, but it can get addicting. So just be careful if you're there. Next thing you know, it's 2 hours by and you're like, well, I should probably do something else with my time. So but it's a great tool to use and with what's going on. So
there's the American Solutions for Business also has a pretty cool presence on TikTok and different social platforms where they are doing product demonstrations, unboxing, really a lot of fun there. Some really great personalities. So you could always check them out too to see what might be out there in our space.
I'll have to
Stephanie,
follow
I would
them.
say too, don't forget. Oh, go ahead, Alex. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying I have to follow them now on TikTok.
I was just going to say LinkedIn also is a platform. Remember, we talked about videos on there. And so obviously that's a lot of a business audience. And so, I mean, I do videos on there and I just use my iPhone. So you do it, I put it into iMovie, add music to it to make it kind of fun. And you can just throw together a really quick, I mean, that doesn't take a lot of time. I bet it'd take 5 minutes or less to do a video. And you can do all kinds of things and just put that out there to your audience. And then anybody that likes your video, comments on your video, it's going to reach their network as well. So that's just huge potential. And that's already a business audience right there on that LinkedIn platform.
That is right. Yeah, that's really important. Okay, well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for your time. We know you've been on the ground zero working with your communities and transitioning to new products and selling techniques over the last year. So I know you're all looking for the next expansion stage of your business. So we hope that these have a lot of really, like I said, concrete tips for you to grow and that you take the step to block the calendar and really dedicate that time. After we close the webinar, there is a survey, so please do fill that in. This does drive future topics for webinars. It tells us what we did right, what we did wrong, and given that we've grown these webinars 10 times since the last year, I wanted to guarantee that your feedback is taken seriously. So thank you also to the panelists for all your tips and experience. This is really a deep dive into prospecting, and it's been really, I've been learning stuff too. So thank you very much.